One of the most important factors of success is and always has been in storytelling conflict. And there again, it might seem obvious, but if you look at series or feature films who fail, you often realize it's because there isn't enough conflict. And why is that so important? Basically, conflict is the single one driving force of storytelling. There is a great book on storytelling, and basically it's on feature film storytelling by Howard and Mabley, which is called The Tools of Screenwriting. And I very much like the thought that you have tools, and we're going to talk about these tools and some of them later on. But they define conflict as being central and even being the definition of a story. Because the basic definition they give is a person wants something badly and has a hard time getting it. So that defines what conflict is. You want something, you're motivated, and that drives you, that gives your action a reason, but then you have a hard time getting it. And then means that there's something, another person or several person or an inner force or a situation that sort of creates conflict, that creates an obstacle to achieve what you want. And if you look at good serial storytelling, you can nearly find it everywhere. The more you look at it, the more fascinating it gets to study that importance of conflict. And it's really part of the DNA of serial storytelling. So the obvious example, of course, will be the worldwide hit Game of Thrones, where each character is defined by winning this Game of Thrones in the end and becoming the ruler of that world. And of course, the next character, which we follow in the next plot line, has the exact same motivation. So this is a very clever storytelling trick to make one character the antagonist of the next, which you follow. And there it's difficult to choose which character perhaps you want to follow, and sometimes you follow them and then they're killed or whatever. So it is a show full of surprises, but it is a show entirely driven by conflict. But to give you a great example, I believe, of a European series which shows this principle perfectly is the great Danish show Borgen. And if you haven't seen it, you definitely should see it, because it's a fantastic example of great storytelling. It is a fantastic example of many things we talked about, like local content, like writing about what you know. But it is a fantastic example of storytelling through conflict. So you follow the life of a fictional prime minister, a female prime minister of Denmark, Brigitte Nyborg. And you see her in the first episode like sort of running for office and then winning, etc. And you follow her life, her political struggles. But you can see immediately how much it is driven by inner conflict and external conflict, which are two important distinctions. And it shouldn't be one or the other, it can be both. For this female character, Brigitte, the inner conflict is, of course, how can she live this political life and still be part of a family, still be a mother and still be a partner to her husband. And it's one of the arcs of that season to see how she sort of copes with that conflict, how she has to think about it, how she has to fight for finding a way. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but there I have to do it. You see how ways from her and her husband separate, for example, how she doesn't achieve it to be there for the kids as often as she wants, because it would be too easy, of course, to resolve the conflict very early. So this is a conflict as a driving force, and you can immediately understand. Everybody can relate to it, all working moms, but all working dads, I believe, as well. So it's easy to understand, but it's a very specific conflict, which is at the same time a very universal conflict. But it's a part of driving the storytelling. The other external conflicts, and there is not just one, but it's several one in that series, is of course the opposing parties, both in the same peer group she has and of course the other parties in the state. She has conflicts from all different kinds, like the economy coming in and asking her to help. She has like cultural conflicts. She has sort of different scandals she has to face with. So on and on and on. There again, she has conflicts. She has something she wants to achieve, but somebody is giving her a hard time. So you can see how this wonderful series, which then has the capacity to go into great character studies, and it's not only her defining it, it's a great story about a journalist and a great story about a spin doctor, and they have all their personal conflicts and their personal questions, but you can see how important is the driving force of conflict. And I could go on for hours and hours or even days and days and giving examples of this, but once you think about your own serial storytelling, it's just something which has to be part of your storytelling world. There's really no way around it, and as said, there is no easy formula, but here we come as close to a formula as we can get, because you really have to understand the importance of conflict if you want to tell a story.